She's a graduate of North Central. Y'all know where that's at? Okay? And also Purdue University. So it is my pleasure and hope that you receive her for her to make some introductory remarks about who she is. And as I say, because I don't know all of this stuff, it makes my head spin. So how she have time to do all this stuff? But I want to introduce to you Ms. Deidra Fair-James for her presentation. Okay?
Thank you. Thank you very much for that very nice introduction, Art. And actually, my mother and Art were talking in the back about exactly where we met them at a neighbor's pool or so forth many years ago. And I also want to clarify again, I want to thank Jimmy Beard and Thomas Sabanga for putting together this wonderful panel. And I do apologize that I have to leave early if you kind of heard the crying baby, which my mother fortunately whisked out of the room. We have a flight to catch back to DC, and unfortunately it's the last direct flight to DC this evening, and we have to fly direct because trying to transfer airports with a 7-month-old would be torture, probably. So again, I appreciate your indulgence in allowing me to leave right around 5. But I did want to open up with first a quick introduction of the Millennium Challenge Corporation, who we are, what we do, and how we are spending your very generous U.S. taxpayer dollars. And then also I want to talk a little bit about the procurement opportunities that are available at MCC. I left, well, I can't say I would say Michelle, left on your desk a overview of our procurement procedures, and so that provides a lot more detail. But in terms of the Millennium Challenge Corporation, who we are a U.S. government agency. We are actually a U.S. government corporation. We're a standalone corporation. We're not under State Department or USAID or Department of Commerce. We're our own standalone organization created in 2004 by Congress with rare bipartisan support. We are led by a board of directors. On our board of directors, we have a CEO, a fully owned U.S. government corporation, and we have a board that's chaired by the Secretary of State. The Secretary of Treasury is on our board, as well as the U.S. Trade Representative and the head of USAID, the United States Agency for International Development. We also have 4 private sector members, 2 appointed by the Republicans in Congress and 2 appointed by the Democrats in Congress. Our mandate is to reduce poverty through economic growth, and how we do that is through 5-year grants that we give to countries that show that they've got good governance and economic freedom and invest in people. And I'll talk a little bit about that later, more about that later. The grants range in size from $60 million to $698 million. Our smallest grant was with Cape Verde, which is a pretty small country in itself, about 500,000 people. And our largest grant is with Tanzania at $698 million. Needless to say, because of some of the budget pressures, our grants have trended downward since that time. Our first grant with the government of Ghana was $547 million, signed in 2006. The budget climate is very different today than it was in 2006, so we are planning on giving them a second grant, but it'll be slightly smaller. We've signed 26 grants. We've signed grants with 26 partner countries. Our key principle with MCC is country ownership. Countries are to choose their priorities, set their priorities by doing an extensive economic analysis, looking at the barriers or the constraints to private sector-led growth. They have to undertake consultations with private sector, civil society, NGOs, other donors, and within government. And that process usually takes about 6 to 12 months for them to develop a proposal that they then submit to the Millennium Challenge Corporation for approval to move to the next stage. And my job and the team that I lead, our job is to help provide guidance as they put together that proposal, and also to get this, the proposal, once it's done, to do proper appraisal and due diligence and get that through the process, which culminates with us presenting to our board. And as you see, we have a fairly formidable board, so we want to make sure that we've done our proper analysis and due diligence and can answer their very tough questions to get that funding approved. We also have a program called the Threshold Program. The grants are much smaller in size, usually ranging around from 10 million to 20 million, and it's for countries that don't quite meet the indicator eligibility requirements that I'll talk about a little bit later, but we provide them funding to help to work on those issues. So for instance, some countries don't pass the control of corruption indicator, and so we can provide funding to help them put in place programs to pass that indicator. And we have, there are 21 threshold countries that are currently being implemented. As I mentioned before, the key attributes of MCC, competitive selection of countries, country-led design and implementation, and I think it's worth mentioning that once we do sign a grant, and you'll hear me call that compact, as we call it a compact. Once we sign a compact with a country, they have to, the country actually implements the program. We send about 2 people from the United States to the country, to reside in country, to work with the partner countries and to provide, again, guidance and oversight and be that link between the country where the compact is being implemented and Washington. But the responsibility is on the country to actually implement the compact. And then the third key pillar is the focus on results. As I mentioned before, in order for a country to qualify for Millennium Challenge Corporation funding, they have to pass 20 indicators. Actually, it used to be 17, and we added 3 more indicators. These are independent indicators in 3 broad categories of governing justly, investing in people, and economic freedom. Sample indicators include civil liberties, control of corruption, immunization rates, natural resource management, land rights and access, number of days to start a business, and girls' primary completion rates. It's just a sample of the 20 indicators. And so what happens, there are organizations across the world that collect this data, from the World Bank to some countries themselves, the World Health Organization, Transparency International. We collect that data from we collect these data from third-party institutions, and we calculate a median in those countries that fall above the median in more than half of the indicators can then qualify. And then control of corruption and democratic rights are what we call hard hurdles. They could pass they could pass 18 indicators. If they fail those 2, then the countries wouldn't qualify. So that's how we determine who qualifies for Millennium Challenge Corporation funding. The other key pillar is the focus on results. For MCC, the results of our programs are measured, collected, reported, and made public. So when we are designing these programs, one of the key things we do is to decide what are the outcomes, and we have this conversation with the government very early on. What are the outcomes that we're trying to achieve with this program? And we make those outcomes public, and we also decide how we're going to measure those outcomes. So for example, the program I worked on before Ghana was in Malawi. It was a $350 million compact with the country of Malawi, again, focusing on the electricity sector. And in the beginning, we talked about wanting to bring down outages. And so we consulted experts, brought in more experts, collected data, and agreed in terms of how many outages, how many fewer outages they would have at the end of the compact versus at the beginning of the compact. And that's actually in the agreement. On our website, www.mcc.gov, all of the compacts or these grant agreements are on there that we've signed, and in the grant agreement itself, it lists the indicators that we're trying to achieve, the slew of indicators that we're trying to achieve with each of these programs. So those are made public. We think about this in the very beginning in terms of we start with the end in mind, and then also the quarterly progress reports that are made toward achieving those indicators. That's public information as well. That's on our website. And then after the programs have completed, we do an independent, rigorous impact evaluation, and those impact evaluations are made public. We want to make sure that the U.S. taxpayer knows what their money is being used to fund, as well as they understand the results that we're trying to achieve in the program. To date, our current programs are expected to benefit about 170 million people and increase their incomes of 12 billion. And this is a global program. So we have countries in our program from El Salvador to the Philippines. So we have a wide range of programs. Now, a question I get a lot from people is that what do you invest in when you're looking at these grant programs? And of the top 4 things that countries ask us to fund, transportation is number 1, not surprisingly, roads, rural roads, sometimes highways. One of our more famous projects in Ghana with the first compact they got in 2006 was an N1 highway that we built through the city. that even though I didn't work on the first compact, I feel kind of guilty because people are continually, when I'm in countries, saying, thank you so much for that road. And actually, I didn't have anything to do with it. I'm working on the second compact. But on behalf of the U.S. taxpayer, I take the credit and I say, thank you very much, because I pay taxes too. So people were very, very laudatory of our efforts on that road, and it could cut people's commute times from 3 or 4 hours at times to down to 45 minutes. And so that is what roads and ports and other types of transportation infrastructure are one of the main things that countries ask us to fund. Agriculture is number 2. Irrigation systems, farmer training, post-harvest infrastructure support, credit for farmers. That's another investment that we make that we've made in countries. Number 3, it's water supply and sanitation, rural and urban. And tied for 4th is health and education and community development and energy. Now, I'm sure that what most of you came for was to learn more about the procurements that we have at MCC and the business opportunities. As I mentioned before, we've granted over $7 billion to 26 countries worldwide, and most of that money is spent through procurements. Although some of it, of course, is used for admin, the vast majority, the funds are going toward purchasing goods and services. And so I thought it might be helpful to just highlight some of the things that are already in the packet. Our procurement is based on a couple of key principles, one being that it's open, fair, and competitive. We don't have any local procurement requirements, for the country, but we also don't have U.S. preference requirements. It's open to countries around the world. The one restriction we do have is on government-owned enterprises, for-profit government-owned enterprises. So if there was a construction company that's owned by the state in a country, they can't bid on our procurements. Also, our award decisions are made by technically qualified experts. What you won't find, I've been involved in several procurements, what you won't find is a minister or sitting on a panel, procurement panel. Usually to sit on a procurement panel, someone needs to be technically qualified to make sure that they're making the best decision based on the requirements. Another key pillar is price reasonableness. It's not always the lowest bid that wins. It has to be the lowest bid that makes sense and that's technically qualified. And so that's really important to have the technical experts that can make sure that we're getting good value for money. And I use the we as everybody in this room, again, as taxpayers. All of the procurements all the procurements above $200,000 have to be made public. The best place to see that is our website, www.mcc.gov. That's in your packet. That's the one-stop shop for procurements. So not only are the requests for proposals made public, but also the winners have to be made public as well. And then in terms of evaluation criteria, it's based on eligibility, technical, and finance. And what I mean by eligibility, there can't be any conflicts of interest, of course. Also, in terms of technical ability, the companies that are bidding need to have general, similar, or specific experience. And in terms of the finance, the companies that are bidding need to have audited financial statements, have adequate financial resources, and also be able to obtain securities such as bid bonds and so forth. The services that we usually procure as part of the compact, the $5 billion plus that I mentioned, are project management consulting, feasibility studies, design and preparation of bid documents, construction supervision, and construction. I think at this juncture it's important for me to note, again, this is in your packet, that I'm focusing mainly on our compact procurements, the big grant agreements that we sign. But MCC, as an institution, also, we run our own procurements. And so many times what my team and I will do is we'll hire consultants to help us with some of the appraisal that we're doing for these compacts, and also to do environmental impact assessments and the like that we might need. But really the big money is with the compact procurements. Some of the lessons learned that we've seen from over 7 years or so of doing procurements, that for companies need to understand that they're bidding on work with foreign entities, and they need to be prepared to work directly with the foreign entity. As I mentioned, with MCC, our country counterparts implement the compact. And so your contract is with those entities. Now, one of the things that people are worried about, and I think rightly so, is will I get paid? Will I have to wait a year and a half for that foreign government to get the foreign currency, get themselves together, and pay me? One of the things that we've put in place is a system. We changed the name so much. It used to be called the International Treasury System. I can't remember exactly what it is now, but you'll see that on our website. But our contractors are paid directly from the U.S. Treasury. So let's say you have a contract to build a road in Ghana. Once the road is built and it's been certified by the people in the country that are working on this project that the road has been built, the independent engineer has certified it, and the external, and they usually hire an external procurement agent and fiscal agent, again, as another check and balance, have certified that it has been completed, then you get your payment directly from the Treasury into your bank account. And on terms net 30 days, I believe it's still 30 days. And so we still are covered by the Prompt Payment Act, and we make sure that people get their payments as soon as possible. I mentioned before the MCC policy on government-owned enterprises. This excludes, however, not-for-profits such as research institutions, educational institutions, and so forth. So that is just my very quick overview of who we are. We are a U.S. government organization that tries to work with partner countries that are trying to do the right thing by their people in their countries, and using your U.S. taxpayer dollars to try to make a difference and promote economic growth and reduce poverty. And we have lots of opportunities, and we want more U.S. companies to bid on our contracts. I think a lot of the information that we provided in the packet hopefully is helpful. And of course, you can email me. My email address, unfortunately didn't make it in the packet, but my email address is fair, F-A-I-R, D, as in Deidra, at mcc.gov. And I can always also direct you to our procurement specialist at MCC. So again, thank you for your time. It's good to be here. It's good to be back home. And I look forward to the rest of the program.